Hello, hello. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. This is Forgiveness Friday, and I thought I would jump in a little earlier today than normal. Actually, I have a conference call in about 15 minutes, so I wanted to start the conversation a little bit earlier, but hopefully those that were planning to join at 11 will actually get to see the replay. I'm excited about today's topic. This conversation keeps coming up for me as I am talking to, especially women, because I think for men and women, we both define intimacy and relationships a little bit differently. So I want to give a few more people time to join. I've seen a couple of my buddies jump in. Hey, how are you? What's going on, buddy? But good to see you guys. And please, if you will, swipe and share that this broadcast is live so maybe other people can join us. And excuse me, I must apologize. This beautiful Chicago weather has me under the weather once again. So, keep me in your prayers. And while I'm talking of the weather, definitely keeping my family and friends in mind there in Nashville, Tennessee. They've gotten a lot of snow. I'm looking at the photos this morning on Facebook, and you guys have been shut down most likely for the next 2 or 3 weeks based on the 4 to 8 inches that we're showing on the news. Thanks for sharing. And then also my friends on the East Coast. We lived in DC for a while. You can see my Redskins helmet up there on my shoulder. So I've got some really good friends out there in the DC area that I know for a fact are not prepared for this kind of weather. You know, the weather that you've gotten there in Nashville, the 8 inches, literally our son would still be in school today, office would still be working, and you dare not show up at work late on a day with 8 inches of snow. But again, we've got the equipment here, so it does allow for that. But back to the subject, we've got quite a few people online again. I'm actually able to see the comments, so if you have questions or comments that you'd like to share regarding this topic, please do so, and I'll try to get to those. And make sure also that you swipe the screen so that you can share it on Twitter, Facebook, so that others might join. And thanks again. I've seen a couple of people have shared it already. So intimacy and relationships. Number one, the challenge I think we have is that intimacy is defined differently depending on your perspective or your views or who you are. And let's just be real about it. Men and women see intimacy differently. So I thought, well, let me just look up the definition of intimacy first. Let's start there. Intimacy defined is a close familiarity or friendship or closeness. Now, when you talk about an intimate act, that's where sex comes in. But I think for a lot of people, women believe that men's definition of intimacy is just about the act. And men oftentimes believe that intimacy that women prefer has to lead to the act. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and understand that in any healthy relationship, intimacy is critical. Intimacy allows people to really engage in each other and to develop that closeness and the friendship that we talk about, that we all thrive on, that we all need. And I did a little Google search, and you can do the same. There was one person said that intimacy is about being emotionally close to your partner, about being able to let your guard down and let him or her know how you really feel. Intimacy is also about being able to accept and share in your partner's feelings, about being there when she wants to let their defenses down. I would sum that up in trust. I believe that intimacy and trust go hand in hand. It's very difficult for anyone to be intimate with someone else if they don't trust them. In order for me to let my guard down, I've got to trust you. I've got to be able to trust that the weaknesses, the emotions that I share with you, frankly, they will stay with you, and that you won't take advantage of those feelings that I've shared with you and use them against me. That's a big challenge for a lot of people because I think trust is gone these days. It's very difficult for a lot of adults especially to trust as we did when we were kids. And again, a lot of that comes from the hurt and the pain that we deal with in relationships. Ironically, both personally and professionally, it's very difficult for us to trust others. So therefore, how could we be intimate and friendly and close with someone if, for some reason, they betrayed our trust? That is very, very difficult. But I can tell you that in any relationship, you want to be emotionally close. You need to be emotionally close. And let's throw it out on the table. Hi. Thanks for the hearts, by the way. The big challenge, I believe, for men especially, is that as men, we often, are accused of wanting the act. And it's very difficult for us to understand that in order for women to engage, they have to be emotionally connected to us. So therefore, men, and this is for all men, you have to engage in intimacy. You've got to allow your wife or your lover, your girlfriend, to feel that level of closeness. And in order for her to feel that level of closeness, you have to let your guard down so she can see the real you. Now, a lot of times we hear, oh, I'm not being a man if I show my emotions. Excuse me. That's why I got choked up. That's a bunch of bull. Let's just be real about it. Being a man is about being confident in yourself, being comfortable that when you're with somebody that you're in love with, that you can share emotions with them and that they understand that you're still the man that you were, but that you do have a soft spot. Now, I'll tell you, my wife, I know for a fact she knows that I'm a man, but she also knows that there are certain things that will absolutely make me cry in a heartbeat. And by the way, thank you for all the hearts, whoever you are. I'm loving it. The reason commercials with children and dads makes me cry is that, there's a soft spot in my heart because of my own relationship with my child and what I missed growing up as a child with my dad. And there's certain things that just, emotionally tug at my heart. That doesn't mean that, if somebody walks up talking crazy, and that I wouldn't defend my wife's honor. That's different. And so men, do me a huge favor if you want to improve your relationship. Be vulnerable, be open, and share some of those thoughts, some of those emotional challenges that you struggle with. Because as men, we struggle with a lot of things. And oftentimes, we just try to bottle it up inside and we try to go get rid of it on the basketball court or, at the bar. But oftentimes the very people that could help us heal and understand emotionally what we're dealing with might very well be our wives. I know my wife has helped me through a lot of things. And so I challenge you to do that. Women, know that if a man opens up to you, that he is being vulnerable, that is not the time to hurt him in a way that makes him feel like he should never have opened up. And what I would say to you is just realize that it is difficult for men to open up. Women are a little more comfortable in sharing their thoughts and feelings. But if you have a man that sits down and says, this really hurts my feelings, don't look to defend your actions. First, look to embrace him, look to comfort him, and go back and watch my Periscope from last week. Excuse me, somebody said run. Don't run. Give them the benefit of the doubt. But, as men, a lot of us long for what we got as children. And that was a lot of love, unconditional love, the affection, the support, and the embrace from our moms. And so when we get into a relationship, we still look for that, especially if we're being vulnerable. Now, I want to throw this out because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. But here's the thing, men and women, if you are emotionally connected, then guess what happens? You now have the opportunity to engage in the intimate act. Then the intimate act tends to be a lot more powerful, a lot more engaging, a lot more just fulfilling for both of you. Excuse me. So now what happens if you've got the family, you've got the kids, and my wife and I kind of joked about this last night because she disagrees with me to an extent, and I'll share both thoughts. Over the last few weeks, I've had some conversations with women, especially moms of young children, and they talked about, it's very difficult to engage in the act. And I said, well, here's the thing. You know that Johnny's got to go to basketball practice. You know, Susie goes to gymnastics. And you also know that you've got projects due for school. How do you keep up with all of that? And the moms always said, well, I put it on the calendar. I said, well, why not put the act on the calendar? Why not schedule it? Why not remove all the issues that men have to deal with, excuse me, around anticipation, and frankly bugging the crap out of you, trying to get you to get to a place where the act can occur? What if every single Tuesday night your husband knew that this was going to be the night of fun for him? What if he knew that every single Tuesday, and that you set some ground rules that, hey, just because it's Tuesday night, I still need you to do certain things for me to make sure that I'm interested and capable and excited to be with you. Now, all of a sudden, you know that your Tuesdays, ladies, might be flooded with flowers and text messages and phone calls just to kind of, engage with you a little bit more. My wife says, that is terrible. That's a terrible idea because the spontaneity gets taken away. And I said, well, here's the problem with that theory. If you're waiting for spontaneity to kick in, guess what happens? You go to sleep. If you're like us, you go to sleep. It's just impossible because by the time you get home, you get dinner, you do the homework, you run around trying to get them to take baths and all those other things. By the time you get to your bedroom, you are exhausted and you literally fall out. You pass out. But if you know that there is an opportunity that exists every Tuesday night, you will find time or find a way to conserve some energy to make sure that you can enjoy that. But again, intimacy starts with the closeness and the relationship and the emotional connection that you have with your loved one. I dare not suggest scheduling an appointment with your lover if you don't have real intimacy. And we'll talk more about this because this is something that is near and dear to my heart. So I thank you for tuning in today. I do encourage you to share this with your friends. And thank you so much for those of you that shared already and that posted hearts. And I saw a couple of comments. Sales from the heart. Jennifer, good to hear from you. Glad that we've reconnected. And I'll let you know how to find the presentation, the Periscope from last week. If you would go to Unconditional Forgiveness, it's my Facebook page. You can like that. I post daily inspirational messages there. And you can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, as well as Periscope at Cedric Newburn. Thank you. Be blessed. And I will talk to you next week, next Forgiveness Friday. Thanks.